as a practice for the Sunday satsangs, we usually read from this book called The Race of the One Light. Just wanted to talk about a little bit about this book and then why we choose this book, so that we can all come prepared to participate actively. For me personally, I'm born and brought up in a Hindu tradition, and then I know a little bit about Bhagavad Gita. I can't say everything, but I was born in a family which was devotional. So if you ask me about devotion, chanting, bhajans, yes, I'm good at it. But as we all, made our journey in our life and we progressed, we learned. And Ananda was a gift, and Ananda was basically the right thing that happened in my life, and that opened up a lot of challenges and opportunities. And as we embark on this path, we not only meditate, we also try to understand and improve our understanding of spiritual truths, practices, and how we can live a life. So this book is it looks very small, but it has profound truths. As you all know, something very unique to our path of Kriya Yoga, as taught by Yogananda ji, is we have 5 avatars to guide our life and our practices, and our destiny to self-realization. And Jesus Christ is on the altar, and we know all from reading autobiography of a yogi that it was Jesus who appeared before Babaji in the Himalayas, and then he requested to send a saint from India, a teacher from India, to reawaken, rekindle that aspect of inner communion with God. And when Master went at a very early age, he went to the West and he married the East and West in terms of the deep spiritual truths that were based in the Sanatana Dharma and the original Christian teachings. So, in addition to what our Param Guru, Sri Yukteswar Giri Maharaj has done by writing the Holy Science, I would say, Master really translated them into everyday teachings, practical tools for everyday living, for how to devote our life, how to go about our day-to-day activities, how do we worship God, and how do we really live a life of yogic tradition. And I just wanted to read the small introduction that is there on the back cover of this book, and so that we all get inspired to really look for the pulse of wisdom that will guide our life. It says, when Christian missionaries in India first read the Bhagavad Gita, they thought that it had been copied from Jesus' teachings in the Bible. The teachings expressed in the Gita seemed so familiar to them that they couldn't imagine anyone but Jesus sharing them. But the Bhagavad Gita predates the Bible by at least 500 years. Truth simply is one and eternal. All the great world teachers share the same eternal truths expressed in different ways to respond to the needs of their times. It further says, each of the 53 short, powerful chapters in this book, this is one per week and then one additional whenever we have the 53rd week in a year, is a passage from the Bible, is linked with the parallel passages from the Bhagavad Gita, and both are interpreted as guides to one's inner spiritual development. The passages are readily applicable to one's life, and they bring fresh, deep, and obviously true insights to familiar Bible passages. So, as a preparation for this year, at least it's my resolution that I would like to study this book, the Revelations of Christ that Swami Kiranandaji wrote, as told to him by our Guru Yogananda ji, and also the essence of Bhagavad Gita. And what we read from these books are very crisp and precise, and we may be able to dwell it on for about say 15-20 minutes, but there's much more. Week by week when we read, I think it will really broaden our understanding of the deep spiritual truth, not in terms of what is great about this religion or that religion, but what are the universal truths by which we can live a yogic life. So I would like to make a recommendation, suggestion for all of us here that let's have a copy of this book as in our library and read it every week and support this reading for increased understanding by reading the essence of Bhagavad Gita and also the revelations of Christ. That makes, I think, our satsangs much more inspirational and useful. Nonetheless, let me read from the reading for week 2, and this talks about the creation. Week 2. Did God create the universe or become it? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. The Gospel of St. John, chapter 1, contains a passage that explains the essential truth that creation is a process of becoming. The universe is not separate from God the Creator, but a part of Him, even as our own dream creation during sleep, our figments of our consciousness. God's is the life. God's the reality, not a melody could be composed, not a poem written, but the melody and the poem not already there, simply waiting to be expressed. In Him was life, and the life was light of men, and the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Ego-directed desire is like static. It distorts the radioed messages of infinity. But the pristine impulse from the divine, undistorted by limitation and illusion, is the life that gives rise to all that is. As the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita states, I am the fluidity of water, I am the silver light of the moon and the golden light of the sun. I am the Om chanted in all the Vedas, the cosmic sound moving as if soundlessly through the ether. I am the manliness of men. I am the good sweet smell of the moist earth. I am the luminescence of fire, the sustaining life of all living creatures. I am self-offering in those who expand their little lives into cosmic life. O Arjuna, know me as the eternal seed of all creatures. In the perceptive, I am their perception. In the great, I am their greatness. In the glorious, it is I who am their glory. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. I think this is a wonderful thought, and what comes to my mind when I read this is, a very, very hopeful situation, because at many times we question, what is the basis of all this existence? Why am I born, and what am I doing here? Who am I? And then, it's a good beginning to start with, to find, the answers. And as the masters have said, when you honestly, sincerely, and with a very devotional heart ask these questions, the answers will come in different forms. And the reading that we read tells everything about the creation, and even the desire to know God is something that is implanted deep within ourselves, already there. And we know that when we take birth on this earth, because we see everything through the senses, we perceive everything through our senses and then consider that as a reality. And the scriptures say that even in the astral plane, when the soul is bound by the energy of the light, the delusion starts right from there, because instead of seeing the higher reality of from where I came and where I need to go back, we see the presence, existence, present experience as the reality. And then we start questioning. Um, I think from this reading, what we can infer or what we can take home as our message and homework to do is one thing. I think it's very important to understand that we have come from that one eternal source of God's consciousness, and our only duty is to find ways to trace back our journey back to that source from where we have come, and that is a great teaching that we have. And there's assurance from both, Jesus Christ and all the saints that we can do it. And the yogic path tells about how we can do it. The second thought that I wanted to think, I think is relevant for us is to see that this creation is not separate from God. It's a very interesting thought. The title itself, did God create it or He became it? I think it's all about, and the scriptures very clearly say that, this creation is not devoid of God's eternal presence in every atom. We say Anu, Renu, Prana, Caste. Even in a grain, even in a sand, there is presence of God. And that gives us a tremendous power and also hope that if we can understand and if we can invoke and then reach that level of awareness, we can find our way back. And not only that, when we say that God is there in the creation, in the minerals, in the plants, in animals, in human beings, it also says that it's a duty to support each other and see God in everything. God in everything. It is not separate. And that is where I think, when we can see the oneness that exists, and when we read Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga and the first one, Yamas and Niyamas, and then we see that the basis for understanding the Yamas and Niyamas, don'ts and do's, are basically the eternal truth that God and His consciousness, His spirit, exist in everything. So we are one. I think if we can carry on with this thought of understanding the oneness that is there already and overcome all the delusions which separates us in terms of our own individual identities, the gender, the races, the creed, caste, all that, I think we will be able to expedite our journey back to from where we have come. And there is a very beautiful saying. The third point that comes from this entire understanding of how this creation has come into existence, God became it. Then how we know that a part of the consciousness of the Creator moved, and that is the vibration. When there is any movement, it creates a vibration, and the sound that came out of that vibration is Om, the Holy Ghost. And this sound finally, when it manifested in the form of matter, I think the earth was created, and then plants, animals, and the human beings came into being. That several, deeper teachings in terms of, when do we reach a human level or when the soul reaches a human level. I think it's interesting to think, that this entire complex existence, evolution, involution is all God's dream. When I read that one line, part of the consciousness moved, and most of it is still very, very still in terms of, being completely not, influenced by any of these up and downs, the delusion. And the teaching says that when we can become also still by the practices of learning how to keep our body still, how to still our restless mind through yoga practice, pranayama, meditation, we can also experience the same divine consciousness even within ourselves. And when we can reach that level of high level of consciousness, overcome our limited awareness of me, my body, and then all this creation as pure matter, as a reality. And if you can just see it from the perspective of the movement of energy in terms of the vibration that sustains this for forever, and then only to help us to trace our step back. What keeps us in delusion is our continued ignorance of the truth. I think there was light, but then because of the ignorance, we could not see the light. And it is to say in a way that as long as we consider the reality that we see and perceive from our senses as a reality true to us, I think we cannot see the light. And the great masters are sent by God to help us understand that, and that is the biggest hope. And when we set out on finding the truths, trying to understand them, apply into our lives, when we come to a level of understanding that yes, I'm not this body. When we do yoga postures, we get to a level of feeling that there's much more than just this physical reality to our existence. There's much more in terms of rather than getting caught up in all these ups and downs, emotions, reactions, frustrations, depressions. There's much more to it. And I think then we start our upward journey of trying to find out how I can get rid of this darkness, how can I get rid of this ignorance. And it is only when we look forward to see the light. I think the great yogic teachings, the practices that we have, help ask us, focus at the point between the eyebrows. Why? Because we are endowed with an ability to see that light when we focus here. And when we are able to perceive that light between the point between the eyebrows, we get to understand. And there's a great amount of awareness that comes to us that yes, there is much more in terms of my existence. And that is how I think we can overcome our ego. Ego is basically something that gets identified. The soul identifies with the body, and it forgets its true reality. Coming back to the simple definition of yoga, we all know that I think many of us have done our level 1 at least, and we have lived this teaching for many years now. Yoga is not about trying to train ourselves to become something. I think it is basically trying to reveal or try to understand who we are, and in terms of awakening that memory of who we are in reality. And you don't have to like school and colleges, and we go and get trained to become something. We get trained, but yoga doesn't need that training. I think yoga needs us to get untrained, or to find out and remove all those different layers of ignorance, misunderstanding, and false identities, and all the delusions that we have in terms of attachment. How can we get rid of them so that we know what is there deep within us? I think when we make that effort through the yogic practice of meditation, serving each other, serving to manifest God's real work that has to happen on this earth, and then through devotion, I think we overcome the egoic delusion of trying. We expand our understanding beyond our body, beyond our limited definition of me, mine, and myself. And that is where I think the true awareness, true understanding will come to us. So that is how we can overcome ego. And I've heard Swamiji saying many times, I think he said that the biggest task on the spiritual path is to overcome your ego. And I think that is a big task. And when we know that we are not this body, when we are not this limited identity that we associate or attach with, then we know that we are much more. And it is where God is always guiding us. I think His presence in each one of us, within each one of us, in the form of inner voices that guides us. When we choose to listen, by settling down all the distractions, noises, interference, insensitivity, arrogance, anything that is negative in terms of our moods, I think then we can hear to that inner voice, and that is God's voice telling us what is good for us in terms of how can we make progress further in terms of really doing our ultimate goal of how to find our way back to merge with Him. It's a beautiful thought. I used to think, if God has to create, first thing is, how did He create? And then I think the why part was very, very difficult to understand. And Yoganandaji explained it, and Swamiji has taught it to us. He says that, God wanted to enjoy Himself through all of us. All of us. Meaning that He did not want to create the universe and all this big tamasha in terms of the maya that is going on to punish us. I think it's a very beautiful thought to keep in mind. He wanted to enjoy, rather He wanted to share that bliss with all of us. So that tells us that our ultimate purpose in life, and or maybe maybe we need to really retread our steps back in terms of taking every step forward to find peace. And we know happiness or bliss. We know that we do it through many ways, try to do it many ways, and then as we go on, then we try to improve ourselves, I think. And then when with the presence of God and Guru, the great teaching that we have, we do it much more efficiently. And even then, it's a journey, long journey in terms of trying to find that ever new, ever conscious, it's a pure bliss. And how that can happen? That can happen only when we dissolve our ego, overcome all our limited identity, and then merge ourselves. And all the yogic practices help us do that. Let's also see, each one supporting each other in terms of seeing the highest divine potential that we all of us have in terms of where we have come from and why we are there and why we exist on this earth. And satsang is a very beautiful way to do that. As we greet each other, meet each other, or wherever we are, let's see each other as that expression of God, and see the highest potential that each one of us have, and that will help us really to overcome all the mistakes that we have made in our previous incarnation and progress much more speedily on this earth. So I think let's hold on to the thought that there is a deep presence of God within each one of us. He has not abandoned us. He has not just created and let it there. I think, I was just thinking about a painter or an artist or, a musician, when they create something, they don't just abandon it, they own it, right? And they take care of their any kind of creation, When I make a cup of tea, I ask 100 questions. Was it very good? Was this, I think the sugar is right, and imagine this entire universe. It's unimaginable, the expansiveness. Do you think God will just sit idle and then watch the scene? No. I think He has personal interest in each one of us. So let's hold on to this thought that God has created us, and He will guide us every step. And we know, but the rule that applies is we have to first ask for that help, And we are very fortunate that, because of our very, very good karma in the previous life and also in this life, we have reached this far. And the satsang, the teaching, the practices that we have, and our determination to make progress, on the steps of yogic path, I think we will soon reach there. And one of our teacher who conducts pilgrimages, she has taken one group to Puri, and when they came back, they usually share, what happened in the pilgrimage. She said, I knelt before Sri Yukteswarji's Samadhi, and I just said, Guruji, when that time will come, I think it's how you invoke and offer your devotion, complete surrender. She said instantly she got answered at any moment. At any moment. I think that is the biggest blessing that we have. When we make sincere, humble, honest commitment and determination, take our step forward, I think God will take 2 steps. When we take 1 step, He'll take 2 steps forward, and then He'll guide us through. And Guruji, Master has promised that, if you live a weak life, meditating every day, practicing your work as a devotion, and serve Master and Guru, if not during your lifetime, but when the death comes, they will all take you by hand. I think that's a beautiful promise, and God has created us and He knows what to do with us. So never ever think that, I'm alone, how things will go on. I think the eternal promise God has made, even when we are suffering, He is there. Even when, in our joy, we are there. In our difficult times, He is there. And that is how this show will go on, and we can find our way out of this show and get into bigger shows. I think that is, I think when we read Yukteswarji's elaborate description of what happens after death and where we go and then what is there further, is mind-boggling. But I think God will help us to understand and embrace it with all our capacity and our determination. So let this year be the year dedicated to feel the presence of God in our life, and everything that is there around us. In thanks, chant that Aditya ji did, and I especially requested him, the beautiful chant in the forest, in the river, in the mountains, in the ocean, and also then in different emotions and feelings of human beings. When you are serving, when you are loving, when you are suffering, going through pain, and also when you are meditating in the form of bliss, God is there. So let's hold on to that truth, and then we can, with that power and with that hope, and I would say, nothing can be coincident. I think it's all planned, and then we can understand it better when we make our efforts, and then we can make good progress.